Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Here we're going to have a look at a game between Carlsen and Aronian in the Chess24 Banter Blitz Cup. From this position you can see there's a knight on c6 already in this line of the Grunfeld, but normally there's a pawn on c5 trying to attack the white center. So let's take it from the top. Let's see what happened in this game. From this table you can see Carlsen ended up winning the match 5.5, 2.5. So let's check out one of the games. Carlsen has white, Aronian has black. The game began. d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5. The Grunfeld, early strike in the center, take, take, e4, getting the center, take, take, and now bishop g7. Bishop c4, castle, and knight e2. Normal move here is c5, but Aronian played knight c6, so let's check out his idea. After castle, he's not going for c5 attacking the white center, but e5. Now at the moment Carlsen doesn't want to play d5, so he wants to keep the tension in the center. So he goes for bishop e3, queen e7, and now queen c2, defending e4. Rook d8. Now instead of rook d1, Carlsen now chose to march forward with d5. It does block the bishop. After knight a5, you just tuck it back to d3. b6, defend the knight. Also the idea which we will see, typical in the Grunfeld, a nice way to reroute this knight to d6, just blocking this pawn. Also ideas of breaking up the center with c6, rook a d1. Notice the rook is not on f8 anymore, so attacking chances are a bit less for black. f5 is not possible here because you can just take it. Bishop d7, f4, going for a kingside attack. f4 is also the only pawn break in the position for white, so white has to open it up. Here e takes f4 played, but one option is, notice black has a pawn break as well with c6. Maybe Aronian was fearing maybe f5 or fe5, but the problem is after f5 it doesn't work because you go take, take, and now e4. Great move. You can't play bishop e4 because rook e8. Even better than rook e8, gf5, and then the pin on the e file is too much. A bishop is gonna drop. So after c6 you can take and then take here, and maybe white center is falling apart. You can continue with knight f4 and it gets messy very quickly. Let's go knight f4, forcing a decision on this pawn. So maybe black takes, takes, and now this bishop is so strong on e4. Let's go bishop c6. Very useful. There's still a knight on a5, controlling the c6 square. Game goes on. So after f4, e takes f4, knight f4, and now c5. This does give white a protected pass pawn, but it's okay because Aronian plans to reroute the knight. c5 is very important, just to stop bishop d4. Carlsen mentioned in the commentary if Aronian went c6, he was just going to go bishop d4 anyway. Very important to trade this bishop off because then the king is a bit weaker. He's got one less defender. So knight f4, c5. No point playing en passant because you just don't have a center anymore. So you go c4. Now white has a triangle center, but this center can't move. So black's doing fine. Knight b7, bishop d2. To come to c3, trying to swap it off. Knight d6, rook e1 first, defend your center. Bishop e5. Stopping white playing e5, and black is getting ready for some play with b5 and rook c8. So a4 to stop that, and Aronian mentioned in his commentary, a4 could be a weakness. So he cements the pawn. He plays a5 himself, so then later this could be a target. But then this is a target as well. b6 is a target. King h1, rook e8, knight e2. Queen h4, and this bishop is so strong, so let's get rid of it with bishop f4. f6, take, take, and knight g1. Aronian does the right thing, get another pawn to the center, but also he can go for the f-file. Knight g1, queen back to e7, knight f3, bishop g4. Are you enjoying the video so far? If so, why not like it and subscribe to the channel at the same time? Make sure you hit that bell, then YouTube will let you know when I release a new video. Now back to this middle game struggle between Carlsen and Aronian. This knight is so useful, so we're going to keep it for now. Knight d2, rook f8, queen b2, putting pressure in the center. Rooks come off, take. Now rook b8, defending b6. So white has eyes on b6 and e5. If he can get the knight to attack e5 as well, that's great. But he can't at the moment because the bishop is guarding that square. h3, bishop d7, and that's why the knight can come back to f3. h3 is a cool move, also giving the king a bit of room. Knight f7 and bishop c2. So we're guarding a4 and e4. And in this position, black is fine. I wouldn't mind taking black's position here. Queen d6, knight e1, rook e8, and knight d3. So why did Carlsen do this? Because the knight is attacking e5, but now the rook is controlling the f-file. King g7, rook b1, putting pressure on here, and only one way to defend it. Rook b8, queen c3, just keeping the queen focused on e5. Now the rook attacks this, but black is fine because black has two defending b6. h5, controlling h4, getting a bit of space. Just got to be careful the king is not so weak. King g1, queen e7, rook f1, rook e8, queen b2. So once again, keeping an eye on here. Queen d6, rook f3, planning to shuffle over. Knight g5, rook e3. Knight f7, bishop d1. Putting some questions here. Too early to go for g4, but Magnus is just shuffling the pieces. This bishop has ideas of coming round to the king side, keeping an eye on a4 at the same time. Rook d8, knight e1. So rerouting again. Rook e8 and rook g3. So putting a question to h5. The king is on the g file. Let's get out the way with h7, queen f2. Aronian is defending fine. Aronian's played a good game. Rook f8, and it's a bit awkward now because now rook f3, using the pin on the f-file, but not so bad. King g7, king defends rook, queen is also defending the rook, so the knight, it can move. So knight d3, saying you can't move the knight now because the knight needs to defend e5. If you move the knight here, then we can take on f8, and then e5 is going to fall. So just to show you that, knight g5, let's take, and now take. And this is the problem. We're attacking this bishop. If this bishop was not attacked by this knight, then this can take this pawn. But black has to defend, and then white can take a move out to protect the pawn, being a pawn up in the ending. So after knight d3, Aronian just keeps waiting. Bishop c2. And here Aronian blunders with h4. Looks like a useful move, gaining space on the king side. A better move is just to wait. Just go back to c8. With the rook or the bishop, doesn't really matter, you just keep waiting. But here after h4, Magnus goes back to d1. And you'll see the plan soon. g5, that's probably the decisive mistake because now the bishop can come into the black position. Queen b2, queen d6, rook f1, rook e8, and now bishop h5. Aronian said, how do I blunder the only idea in the position? Well, if he stopped it with rook h8, then there's an amazing shot. Rook takes f7 check, king takes, and now knight e5 check, winning. Very nice way to break through. King back to g8 because you've got to defend your rook, and now knight d7. After queen d7, bishop g4, coming into e6, and white can march his pawn up as well to e5. Just controlling the board. Queen e7, e5. It's too much. So bishop h5, and now black's position is collapsing. Rook e7. Everything comes off on f7. Take, knight e5, check. King e8, take the bishop, and then e5. Let's see the rest. Queen g6, e6 check. And now b6 will drop. Queen e4, check, 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 take. Important to guard the g3 square, so then there's no perpetual. Check king h2, and here Aronian resigned. Thank you so much for watching all the way until the end. That means you probably liked it. If you did, why not give the video a like and subscribe to the channel at the same time. Make sure you hit that bell, then YouTube will let you know when I release another video.